And for more on this, Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, who is a military expert and the host of Daniel Davis Deep Dive on YouTube, is joining us live from Virginia. Thanks very much for joining us on WION, Colonel Davis.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Colonel Davis Al-Arouri, who was killed in the Beirut blast, was one of the most senior Hamas leaders killed by the IDF since the war began. Talk to us about how the death of Al-Arouri on the Lebanese soil is going to spill over into a wider regional conflict.
Well, everything depends on what happens next. It seems almost impossible to suggest that Hassan Nasrallah won't retaliate, as he said he did. He had actually made some statements about that during the summer, that if Israel assassinated any member of the so-called axis of resistance on Lebanese soil, they would retaliate. And the fact that this was not just in Lebanon, but in the heart of the capital city, I just can't imagine that they're going to let that go without some kind of response. And what happens next, if they have some kind of a response deep into Israel, and if it's some big kind of a strike, you can't imagine that Israel would also not retaliate again, only stronger after that. And of course, every time you get on the escalation rungs of that ladder, you get a chance for this to explode into a much larger war. And then you have the potential for Iran to come into this on the side of Hezbollah if it gets that far. And we've already got issues. I think you said a minute ago, in the Red Sea, we have issues in the Iraq and in Syria, with the United States forces being attacked, with Israel assassinating Iranian leaders in Syria. This is just a very volatile mix right now.
And Lieutenant Colonel Davis, will the death of Al-Arouri have some kind of an impact in terms of, is it going to hinder the plans of Hamas militants going forward from now?
Look, I think it's going to be very emotionally satisfying for the Israelis, quite frankly, because at least according to reports, he was one of the masterminds of the October 7th attack. And so there's going to be a lot of people very happy that he was taken out. However, when you're talking about operational effectiveness and especially tactical effectiveness, I don't think it's going to have any effect. I mean, we've seen what happened when Osama bin Laden was taken out. He was just replaced by Ayman Zawahiri. Years later, he was taken out. Al-Baghdadi of ISIS was taken out. All kinds of, mid-level people have constantly taken out, but they're constantly replaced. And sometimes when you take out these key leaders, they're replaced by someone even more violent and more radical after that. So it's not necessarily going to be better, but you can be assured that there'll be no shortage of people to replace him.
Right, you speak of how, Colonel Davis, that somebody will replace Al-Arouri as well. But at this moment, Netanyahu has clearly emphasized on how one of the key strategies of Israel at the moment is to eliminate Hamas and the Hamas leaders as well. Shed some light on Israel's strategy at the moment. We saw the IDF withdrawing its troops from Gaza yesterday, and now the Beirut airstrike. What is Israel's trajectory going forward?
Look, Israel's getting into a tough spot because this is not like all their other wars in the past, which were relatively short and limited in scope. This one is much larger, and Israeli officials are saying earlier this afternoon that they expect that this is going to be, throughout the next year. They say all of 2024 probably. But they have domestic issues as well, because this whole judicial ruling against Netanyahu is causing a lot of division within Israel. He's facing pressure from the family members of the people that are still hostage in the Gaza Strip. He's also facing pressure on the domestic side from the reservists, who already 300,000 of them were called up, and they just can't stay on duty forever because they have lives that affects their economy, etc. Then you also have additionally the issue that the longer this war goes and the more the Palestinian civilians are killed, the greater the chance that the Israelis lose the international support without which they can't conduct this war. So there's a lot of risk involved right now for the Israeli forces, even though militarily they're way above Hamas than they ever could. But this thing could go longer and cause problems.
Right. Thank you so much, Lieutenant Colonel Davis, for joining us. It's always good to have you on the show and listen to your insights. Thanks for joining in.
Thanks. My pleasure. Thank you.